You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold, episode 43. Today we welcome in attorney Ed Lake, founder and president of Leaders in Mass Torts, one of the founders of Gacovino Lake, and founder of Persist Communications, a communication software company. How you doing today, Ed?
Doing well. How about you?
Very good, thank you. We're excited to have you on the show. We featured you earlier today as of this recording, second week of May. So thanks for your story. Very interesting.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to get right into the story, actually. I want to go through the story and then we'll hit on some things that you're doing now. But you said you went to law school a little late, right? So then you were in the garment industry for a while. Like, how did you get into that industry?
Well, the garment sector is basically, my family was in it for years and years. I always thought that was what I was going to do, run some type of blouse company or dress company. And then in the late 70s, early 80s, things changed in the garment center. Everything went to China. And I remember graduating University of Maryland and then having no job, really, thinking I was going to be, right into this new company that my father started. The company went bankrupt and I had to basically start from scratch. So for the next 10 years, I, being the salesman that I always was, I switched off. I sold some of the first Unix computers ever made for AT&T back in like 1982. I sold pharmaceutical software. I sold PBXs and key systems. Those are phone systems. I was a ticket broker. And then I had a job selling what they call jewelry findings, which are the parts that jewelers use to make fine jewelry settings. And I traveled all over the country and Canada all by myself. And I think that really gave me, because it was a commission job, and either I was going to go out there, and I had to knock on doors. We had a lot of them, no customers. These are all virgin territories,
right?
A young Jewish guy in Edmonton, but I did it because otherwise I wasn't going to get paid. And I think it taught me, number one, it gave me a love for travel that I still do, and number two, it gave me, I think, a little bit of moxie, maybe, not to worry, because I saw everything there pretty much is to see. Now, my last job was as a ticket broker. There was some issues with,
What do you mean ticket broker, like concerts?
Well, in the day, if you wanted to go see first row in a concert, you had to go pay to a ticket broker. Now there's StubHub,
right?
Okay, but back in the day, there were what they call brokers.
Right.
Brokers would somehow or other get the tickets when they went on sale. They would have people waiting online and paying them to wait online.
Oh, it had to be the hardest show to get into. Had to be like the Grateful Dead, right?
Actually, yes, but not the highest that someone was willing to pay.
Rolling Stones.
The money where the corporations really paid. So Bruce Springsteen, Broadway shows,
right?
Anything like the Giants, the Yankees, the Mets.
Right. Oh, okay. So I was thinking concerts. I like the Grateful Dead. I mean, I didn't never.
I could tell. So. And I'm a Dead from way back when.
Are you? Well, that's another conversation. That's amazing.
1976, that whole Dead tour of upstate New York.
Yeah.
One of the most famous tours ever.
Yeah.
They say maybe probably the best shows. I went to maybe 5 of those shows.
What month was that? Do you remember? Because
no, I don't.
Well, because there's a famous show right around this time, I think in like the 70s.
In Syracuse.
That
was the tour.
The anniversary date, sort of, and it was just great music. But anyway, I have it on a CD from back in the day. So that's interesting. Garment industry, And by the way, like I never, my grandfathers, I never met them, but they were in the garment industry. Like I guess it was in the 30s, like in the West Side. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yes, the Garment Center was basically started at Penn Station, which is 33rd Street on 8th Avenue. And then it went to about maybe 45th Street. And when we say the Garment Center, we're talking about ladies.
Yeah,
garment.
yeah, like blouses, like.
And everything was there, the quote unquote, the sewing machines were there, the sweatshops were there, everything, the hustle and bustle was there. I worked there from maybe the time when I was 12 years old in the shipping department. And I tried, and my dad would let me try all different kinds of positions.
Yeah.
Some of my friends ended up, surprisingly enough, as salesmen in the Garment Center, and I didn't.
Really?
Well,
did some of your friends make that like their lifelong career? Is that what they did?
Yeah, and then it didn't work out for them too much because it's a difficult business now. You're just reselling stuff made in China, basically.
Right. So Ed, so then you went on to be a salesperson for like 10 years. So tell me.
Right. All right.
So here's the question I love to ask guests. So like, when was it when you were like, I'm going to law school? Like, what was that like, that epiphany that day? Like, tell us the story.
Couple of issues. Number one, my father, my whole life gave me the third degree. My father always wanted to be an attorney. He always talked about being a lawyer. And heard it every day in my life, even though he was quote unquote what they call a garmento. That was a guy from the Garment Center.
Right.
Okay. But I never had a love of law that a lot of people have. It just maybe because it was never in front of me. My dad wasn't an attorney, so what did I really know about it? My last position when I was selling tickets, as I said, I had a bit of a falling out. Something happened with a customer I tried to be partners with, and I ended up having to go back to selling phone systems and not knowing what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Which coincidentally was also the same time that I was having my engagement party and knew that I was going to be getting married and having kids. I had all this pressure. It was a very difficult day. While I was doing that, my dad said, listen, go take the bar. What do you got? Go take the LSCTs. What do you got to lose? So I took I forget what the name of the course was.
Maybe Barbary or PMBR or something like that.
One of those, to prepare. And I would go from, the telecom company I worked for was on 31st and 7th Avenue, and the Barbary or whatever the company was on was like 3 blocks away. And at lunch, I would go there and listen to the tapes because there was no internet back then, right? And I took the LSATs. Now, when I took the LSATs, I don't remember how it works with the months, but by the time I took it, most people already were already in school by the time, this is really the next year.
Right. You took you had another year. Yeah. Because they only administer it like a few times a year. I don't even remember. It was such a big deal back then, but I don't friggin' remember now. It was like twice a year, 4 times a year, something like that.
It was the last time. So by the time I got the results, every school was already full, except for one school, a school by the name of Toro College.
There it is.
Now, Toro had what they called a pending accreditation. It had to be 10 years before you can get a full accreditation by the ABA. So that year was the 10th year.
Okay.
I think they out of 138 schools, they were close to 130. Now they're built up their reputation. They've come
absolutely
proud to be a Toro grad. At any rate, I got a letter. I'll never forget this. This is like in the end of May, and it says, "You have been accepted into Toro Law. School starts in 6 weeks.
Okay.
I have a full job, a wife on the way. I'm out of this is 10 years. I'm 10
years. A wife on the way. I love that.
I'm not married yet.
I know you were engaged. You were getting into it. All right.
And I'm not going to go back to school. It was like it didn't even really occur to me that I would even really get in. I think, and then I had to make all these life decisions.
Right.
And we sat down with the families and we all planned it out because my ex wanted to have children, so that had to be at the same time. I'm 30, she's 32. We're not little kids.
Right.
Okay. We decided to go to Toro.
Back then. It was not. I don't mean to say back then, but I think like a few years back. It was probably.
We went through. We went through 3 years of in vitro, so I would go to law school, and then we would go to the IVF doctor, and it was crazy. In fact, I think I found out that my wife finally got pregnant after 3 years. I passed the bar, and then I found out they were twins, all within 2 weeks.
Oh, you got twins.
Yeah, I had twins.
That's amazing. Mazel tov.
And then we had the miracle baby after going through all that craziness about 2 years later. So everything was
All girls?
All girls.
All right.
So I end up going to Toro, and I remember my first day there. I'm sitting, in the auditorium, kind of like a fish out of water.
Right.
Everybody 22 years old. I'm 30. But on the other hand, I've already been working out in the streets for 10 years, and I'm not scared.
And look, I think like you were saying, you were knocking on doors and like talking to people. Like that's huge because I'll tell you what. Like I hated getting called on. I'll admit it. Like a lot of my podcasts, I say I really didn't like the Socratic method. Is it necessary? Yes. Would I have done better now or a few years after? Yes. I know this show is not about me; it's about you. But I think your prior experience knocking on doors.
Shut up.
What's that?
I couldn't take my hand down.
Yeah. Like you were probably just like let's.
No, I disagree. I get around. No, that's not right.
Anybody else but Mr. Lake have an answer for that?
Right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Give someone else a chance. We don't want to talk about my political views because we don't want to get into.
Yeah, we'll leave that aside right now.
But I can tell you that for those, I started probably one of the first 5 Federalist Society groups of any law school ever.
Really?
In fact, I went to the second Federalist Society meeting, and since after law school, I'm now a left-wing liberal. But this was during the Bush administration, and I had a conference about the litigation explosion. I don't know if you remember, but the powers that be decided they were going to put that forward in order to get tort reform. And so I had the symposium, and through the federal side. I later realized what the Federal Society really stands for, so I'm not a member anymore.
So I'm curious in this. So because I really liked torts in law school, and I liked product liability. It was like the most interesting cases.
100%.
Like, negligence had we had the elements, and like it was very interesting,
real life,
right? What's
real
that?
life? Real life.
It was real life. So, and it was like telling stories about this happened to somebody. Like, how do you analyze it? Is that did you just get into it that way? And then you're like,
no, okay, let me tell you how I got.
So like, and also tell it while you go on, tell us how you met. Well, I want to know like what your first job out of law school was. And then I want to know like, how you met your law partners. All right.
So I'm sitting at orientation, and they're doing the look to your right, look to your left. One of you won't be there.
Oh, they did that.
Right? Because what do I know about taking an exam? I haven't taken an exam in 10 years.
Right.
A very attractive young lady walked by. I give this guy an elbow. Hey, look at that. Right? That's my partner. That's Steve Gacovino.
Oh, okay. So like the first guy.
The first day, we were study partners. I mean, really, without him, I don't think I could have been a lawyer. I'd call him up 4 o'clock in the morning. What is the law against perpetuities? No matter how.
You're going to ask him that at 4 a.m. Nobody wants to ever hear that.
We've ended up a million times. Don't worry. I owe a lot to my.
So what about the girl though? What about the girl walking by?
Forget it. She did very well for herself. That's all I can.
Good.
I don't know if she knows how much of an impact she had on my life.
Well, I think we should bring her in, like for the story.
Maybe we could talk about that.
All right.
I don't know what you're doing. I haven't heard about her in years and years, but she comes from a pretty famous family, so I don't know.
Okay.
That actually used to be on the radio, so who knows?
All right. Well, we'll talk offline. So, all right, keep going. So you met. You're the first guy you met. That's like kismet, right?
Yeah, and we're in our study group, and now we're doing outlines together. Now we're studying for the bar together, literally, and we passed the bar together. And it's 1993, I believe, and there's a region, and you know how many companies came to Toro to interview?
I don't want to guess.
1.
Okay.
300 of us.
Did all 300 get the job or no?
It was actually one guy got the job, and it was because I think his father was the law firm's biggest client.
That's a lot of pressure, though.
So what am I going to do right now? I remember I graduated. The graduation was at Avery Fisher Hall, and it was wonderful, right? And my mother was so happy, and I just can remember I just quit a 6-figure job 3 years ago, and I have no job, and I have Now I have a wife and I have kids. How am I going to do this?
Wow.
Now,
you
I'm pretty resourceful.
Job. That let's stop right there, because that's a lot about you, I think, as an attorney and like wanting to be in the profession. I mean, like 20, 30 years ago, you quitting a 6-figure job to go to law school.
How many times can I show someone how to work a telephone system? This is how you put it on hold. Yeah. This is the transfer. I just couldn't. It wasn't challenging anymore. It wasn't a career.
Right.
I didn't own the company. I did well, but I mean, the handwriting was on the wall. I'm an entrepreneur. I have issues with other people telling me,
understood.
That's why I became a sole practitioner. I think
understood
all the answers, even though I don't. But that's just my personality.
You want to do it your way.
So what did we do? Okay, I'll tell you 2 quick stories. Quick story number 1. I'm at a gas station getting the car washed. It is now, I'm waiting to I passed the bar, but I'm not yet admitted. I see this guy in a BMW 747 in front of me taking out a bunch of Redwells. For those of you who don't know what a Redwells is, that's what we used to carry our files in. It wasn't digital back then. You actually had to carry these big things and investigation files, medical files, everything. And you would go to court with them, right? And I see him taking them out of the trunk. And I have probably because of me knocking on doors, I don't care about rejection that way. I go up to him, I go, "Hi, my name's Ed, and I just graduated law school, and I'm pending admission. And I'm just wondering, remember, there were no jobs because we're in a recession. Do you have any jobs?" And
so wait, this guy had on his car at the gas station, like a law firm?
He was up out of the car and put him in his trunk so he can get the inside of his car clean.
So wait, but how did you know?
He had all these files in his car.
Oh, so you knew that they were law files?
What's that?
You knew they were law files?
Yeah, you could tell Redwells were only used by lawyers.
Redwell. Okay, got it. Okay.
Maybe one day you'll put one on. It had a thing where you wrapped it up. It was called a Redwell. It was red.
Okay,
Everybody.
Got it. So you went up to him and you said, "Hey, my name's Ed. I just graduated pending admission."
And he said, "Funny enough, what I do, I have an association with a large insurance company, and because we have so many depositions every day in the 5 boroughs, I give them out to independent lawyers who go and read the file within a short period of time before the deposition and do the deposition. 90% were MVAs. So it's a very small amount, but it's twice a day, 2 depositions a day.
Wow,
better than anything. I'm going to learn how to be a lawyer in the trenches, and I did. Now I'm a plaintiff. I was doing defense. Okay. While this is happening, I finally get admitted. And me and my partner, we start taking on, stuff from the bar association.
Well, what did your partner do while you were starting with that?
My partner was doing the depots too.
Oh, so you got it for both of you.
We started taking on work, some criminal work that the bar association was giving us at $40 an hour. Probably now we shouldn't, looking back, stuff we probably weren't qualified to do.
But that's what you got to do when you start. You
no one was hiring me. We had to hang a shingle. What are we going to do?
That's what they want you to do, I think. I mean, that's terrific.
Well, like it or not, we didn't malpractice. We don't have any complaints, that were anything major against us in all these years. So and my partner did a lot of I'm the rainmaker. He's the inside guy who did most of the legal work. That's what he. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Steve, if you see this. No, I'm doing my partner now.
No, your partner's pumped. He loves having you on the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. You're good.
We'll see. At any rate, so I'll find out tomorrow, won't we?
We'll get him on after you. Don't worry. We'll hear his side of the story.
Excellent. Yeah. So we start building up a practice, right? And then I'll never forget this. I'm looking at the New York Law Journal, and there's a tiny little ad, and it says, "Cases available, co-counsel, financial investment required."
Okay.
So I send my partner to Brooklyn, and it's an attorney, and he gets files from various insurance companies, not as defendants, as plaintiffs. Hey, my boy was just in an accident. My insurer was just in an accident. He needs a lawyer. That kind of stuff, right? And we got 10 cases that day, and that started. I used to go back before I was a lawyer. I used to watch TV, like all of us, and I used to see the commercial with Bruce Davis, rest in peace, from 1-800-Lawyers, and he had 1-800 lawyers stuff. And I used to say to myself, "Wow, that guy's making a third." I don't know how I knew, and I'm making 7-8% as a lawyer. I want to do that. And that's kind of how I ended up becoming an attorney, because to me, if I can mesh a license that cuts my competition down with my marketing ability, then I might have a leg up on most attorneys because they're more technicians. They're about being an attorney. Where I was, like I tell people, I'm a salesman who went to law school, not an attorney who had to learn marketing.
That's super interesting. I love that. You're a salesman that went to law school.
It gives me a leg up. I don't have to, you know what I mean? It's the stuff I enjoy.
Have you been in court? Like, have you tried cases? Have you done that?
I tried one case.
Okay.
All
right. But you know what? Like a lot of the cases settle. You know what I'm saying? Like, settles a lot.
This is getting some personal stuff, but here's the bottom line. How is two guys who are in their own practice with really no money to start with supposed to become trial lawyers and rainmakers and litigators at the same time? It's impossible.
Right.
There was nobody to train us to be trial lawyers. So the bigger cases we referred out, and that became our model. Okay.
But you referred out, but you got a fee though.
Of course.
Yeah. So whatever you're doing, the model of what you're doing, and I know you wrote a book, right, on co-counseling?
Well, the book is more on mass torts, and it's a compilation. Okay. It's a compilation of 25 quote unquote experts that I know over the years in all different aspects of mass torts. Okay. So it'll be out next week. You'll help me promote it. I wrote one chapter, and there is a chapter on co-counseling, but that's what I do a lot of now. Torts.
That's amazing.
Let me get into the mass torts and the product liability.
Tell us about it.
All right. So
before you do, I got to tell you, we're going to go off in like 8 minutes. If we go out, just click the link and we'll be back on. Okay.
Fine. So we're doing okay. We're doing business, and we get 1-800-lawyers. Complicated, but it requires 5 figures each month. We don't have the money. We get other lawyers to help us. We take the cases and burn them out. They give us some cash, and we roll it up. And we do this for 15 years. And then in New York, we get another crash, stock market crash. This is, I think, in 2000. Maybe it was the bubble, the internet bubble. Insurance companies stopped paying. Half our clients were from Brooklyn. They had Russian last names. The insurance companies started SIUing every single special investigation unit, all our cases, and they started enforcing something called serious injury threshold, where basically if you don't have a very, very serious injury in New York, you can't collect anything but no-fault benefits. Okay, and our caseload, plus the competition was getting fierce. The advertising was getting more expensive, and we weren't upping our budget for various reasons, and the case cars were getting much safer. And I saw my caseload drop down from 6 figures a month, low 6 figures, to 5 figures, but yet we were still paying the same money. And I saw it writing on the wall. I thought the PI business was completely over. I was wrong. Plenty of guys doing very well still in New York. Yep. But I get a card in the mail, and it says, "Come to Atlantis. Mass torts made perfect." And I look at my partner and I go, "What's a mass tort?" And he's like, "Why don't you go there and find out?" So I go, this is September 11th, September 12th, or September 10th. It was the day before September 11th, 1 year anniversary. There was nobody on the plane, literally.
Right.
Me and 5 air marshals, okay?
Wow, all right.
Davis flight. There were 50 people showed up. It was the second mass torts made perfect. And I learned about some various pharmaceutical drugs. And basically, the idea was you advertise or you bring the cases in your firm to the guys who know what they're doing, and then let's split the fee. The gentleman who helped me get 1-800-lawyers told me, "Hey, I think I got a good outlet for those cases." It turned out to be, and I'm hoping I'm not talking out of turn, but it's the National Enquirer. And we put an ad in the National Enquirer, and the first night we got 150 faxes.
Wow.
Were you injured by any of these drugs? We listed like 10. Right? Now, since then, we're not in there anymore for various reasons. But that started my mass torts, practice. And what happened, and by the way, we had just got off a disastrous try at bankruptcy. We lost money because we got into chapter 13 and the money wasn't flowing. And because we were just at a recession when all this happened.
Wait, who did that? Like bankruptcy?
Myself and my partner, we tried to do a bankruptcy.
Oh, a bankruptcy practice. Got it. Okay.
Put a lot of money into advertising, and it was a disaster. But I knew that PI wasn't what I want. I don't want to take in a few cases and work that. That's just not, as I say, I'm a marketing guy. I'm not really a litigator. So mass torts seemed like a likely thing, right? So, okay, so we start bringing in mass torts and we're doing volume. And then little by little, other attorneys, mainly friends, say, hey, can we co-counsel with you? How about we'll chip in and we can do some marketing together? That turned into, okay, I'm going to hire one or two guys, non-lawyers, to go out there and see if PI attorneys who are used to contingency might be interested in doing co-counseling with mass torts, where they don't have to do very much work, but they can get a large back end. And that's what started what was then known as Persist.
Right. So that's the next thing. So like you basically help firms market too, like, and you do Persist, and Persist is like
Persist is now software. Now what happened was, after about 2 years of doing mass torts, I was getting 2,000 leads a month, and I didn't want to have 14,000 people answering the phone and calling, right? And now this is when email just started and texting just started, and there were all these different modes of communication. And another issue, this is a funny story because this is how Persist started. My partner was saying, hey, the call agents are only calling on the new leads. The reason was they were getting a bonus if they were signing, right?
Right.
Problem was the call center was being run by my ex-girlfriend's mother. So it was like, between my partner and my girlfriend, I didn't know what to do, right? Because what can I do? Fire her? So I called up an ex-friend of mine, Greg Persky, if you're listening, Teledynamics. That's the company I also used to work for. I go, is there a way for me to force it so they don't get to choose what call they make or who they make? And he said, yeah, there's something called a dialer. And that became an IVR, which is interactive voice recorder response system, which then became Persist. So Persist was, I would make a call. If the machine believed it was a live person within half a second, it would transfer it over to the agent. So now the agent wasn't making the calls. The machine was making.
Right.
Great. It also, if it turned out that it didn't think it was a live person, it thought it was a voicemail, it left a pre-recorded voicemail. I wouldn't have to leave a voicemail. Then we tried it and we're getting good response. But what's happening, I saw, was that some people weren't picking up the phone. So what do? I said, okay, let's send them a text message saying it's Gacovino and Lake, and here's the number we're calling from. So I'm thinking the next time I call, maybe they're more likely to pick up the phone. The next night, where normally we would take 2 or 3 incoming calls, we got 23. Because people got the text messages and called it back, which, and right back then I should have not realized text messaging had a 98% open rate, but nobody talked about it because it was so new.
Right.
Just like when I
text message is huge.
Right. Now, when I started with DocuSign, we were 99% FedEx, 1% DocuSign. It's
DocuSign. I think I did one of those today.
Completely switched.
Huge.
Right? I mean, we're talking about 10, 15 years ago. I think I was probably the second major law firm to use DocuSign. I'm big into tech just because to get the best ROI. At any rate, so that became, now Persist has grown. It does texting, emailing, calling, chat bots, voice messaging, everything I can to get the person to respond in a way that they're most comfortable with. Now with chat bots, they don't even have to talk to a live person. They can answer the phone.
Right.
I mean, they can answer questions and sign the retainer at 2 o'clock in the morning in the comfort of their home, or on the subway when they're so noisy they can normally not speak to somebody.
And we're probably going to go off in like 30 seconds, but click the link, okay?
Okay. When you say, what link am I talking?
Just the one that you initially clicked to get in.
Okay, fine. Anyway, so that's Persist, and that became its own company. Leaders in Mass Torts does marketing for mass tort contracts and leads so that people can be involved in mass torts. So one is tech, one is marketing. And then there's the co-counseling, which is the Lake law firm with Gacovino and Lake.
Okay, so Gacovino and Lake.
Yeah, Gacovino and Lake and the Lake law firm, we co-counsel with other firms a lot. Any attorney who has any licensed attorney can share in fees in mass torts if they'd like to get involved. They can give me a call on my cell, 631-365-9077. What we do is we joint venture with firms or lawyers who would like to become what we call passive investors, although there's a tiny bit of work involved, and also settlement attorneys. And many times, my firm, we act as the workup firm. So to give you an example, my firm may handle getting the medical records, the medical review, the plaintiff fact sheet, in some cases do the summons and complaint.
Okay.
And then we refer it out to someone who's on the plaintiff steering committee, or we believe would be a good person to give them to for settlement.
Within the same state, though, like the jury.
No, well, a lot of this is federal court. We work most mass torts are worked in MDLs. Okay, multi-district litigation.
Yeah. Thanks
in
for clearing
federal
that up.
court.
Yeah.
So you're filing, but not always. There's some state court action, and there's some state court dockets. I don't want to see, but a lot of cases it's federal court. So we're filing in whichever district has been assigned that particular case.
Okay, very cool.
And so we co-counsel with hundreds of firms, and honestly, as an investment vehicle, it's something that every lawyer should look at. High returns. Don't get me wrong; it's risky. Okay, like any products liability case, there's no guarantee of success.
Right. Yeah.
But I can tell you that when you have that many cases, it's usually not zero. Now, what I've seen, and this is just anecdotal, it seems juries are starting to feel, how do I put this, be more plaintiff lawyer friendly than they were maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
We don't get too many defense verdicts.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to get involved in mass torts, look at the history, look at some of the torts. It'd be good to give them white papers or anything they need.
Interesting. So like how big is your firm? Is it you and your partner now? Or
we have a couple of attorneys and have various call centers and agents, some of that are third party. And we have Gacovino Lake in New York. We have a staff. Persist Marketing in Florida has a staff, and the Lake Law Firm in Puerto Rico has a staff.
Okay, the Lake Law. So that's different than Gacovino.
In certain cases, we do together as a Gacovino Lake. In certain cases, we don't.
Interesting. Can I ask the distinction or no?
It's not a matter of that. It's just some cases we like to get involved together. In some cases,
I got you. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Wow. So you are like a true entrepreneur, and you're a true you're a professional salesperson and you're an attorney. And I think actually both of those like kind of go hand in hand, but the way that you've kind of done your career, it's very interesting, like with the sales aspect of it.
Well, I could tell you that we just got through a National Trial Lawyers Convention, and I was blessed to have Danica Patrick come to my booth and do a meet and greet, and then later we had a really nice dinner. And it was just, we have a lot of co-counsel who was there, and I just wanted to thank them all and do something special for them, for trusting, having the trust in my firm.
So a lot of lawyers, basically, like a ton of lawyers. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what a ton means, but I mean, I've probably been to over 100 plaintiff lawyer conventions.
Wow. Okay. That's great. So Ed Lake, what else? Is there anything else that you want to tell the Lawyer Stories community? Did we touch on everything?
Well, I mean, if you look out for my book, and we're going to be doing some type of Leaders in Mass Tort, either virtual or live event, probably in November or December, where some or all of the authors in the book, which is Mass Torts A to Z. I can't remember the rest of the title, but basically experts. I can't remember at this point.
That's okay. Look, let me tell you this. We're so thrilled to have you on Lawyer Stories and the podcast. Like, you shared your story. Like, it's amazing. I love your story.
Thank you.
Personally. And, you found your way, you found your path. And that's super cool. If you ever want to connect with anybody on Lawyer Stories, I know you're a very outgoing guy. You seem like, so you'll message them yourself, but we're more than happy to facilitate anything.
Well, let me say this. Any young lawyer out there, anybody who's starting out, or I've been doing lawyer marketing now since almost 30 years. Anytime you have any questions, just give me a shout, and I'll, sometimes I can lead you in the right directions where I can let you know who the correct vendor is without having to go through some of the, the toil and blood that I went through, or give you any kind of advice as to what conventions or conferences or who you should be hooking up with. If anybody out there, let's say, has mass tort cases, just somebody might, a client asks them about a case, feel free to reach out to me. We always protect your fee interest. If I'm not saying to go out and market, but many times, a family lawyer might know somebody who got hurt as a result of a dangerous drug or a dangerous medical device or any type of environmental problem, including if anyone has any information for worldwide. The environmental issues don't necessarily have to be within the United States. So we have co-counsel with firms in London who do litigate regarding some incidents in South America. So if anybody has a potential environmental tort that they think is possible, I have the experts out there. Also, they can.
How can it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish up.
I was going to say, if they also want to learn anything about mass torts, there's a few different ways. They can go to leadersinmasstorts.com. They can go to lawyersusa.com. And I'm going to give a shout out to Mark York of masstortnews.com. It's he gets more into the nitty gritty of some of the cases and where they stand right now. If you're interested in any of the opioid litigation, good place to get the information. So those three. So leadersinmasstorts.com, lawyersusa.com, or masstortnews.com. And as I said, if you want to give me a call, I'll give you my phone number one more time, 631-365-9077. Just shoot me a text, tell me who you are, what time and date, and I'll put some time in for you.
Yeah, I got to write that number down too, Ed. I want to text you sometime. So, and also you could also just contact Lawyer Stories. We'll put you in touch with Ed. Yeah. And thank you so much for, go ahead. Do you have something else?
Let me give you a shout out. This is really great. I just, the way I found Lawyer Stories was because I watch you guys every other day. And it's interesting to see not just the same people because you have it from all over the world.
All over the world, man.
And you also get stories about people who struggled. And it's good to see that there are people fighting the good fight and wearing the white hat out there. So anybody starting out, it's tough, but it comes down to rainmaking and doing quality work. And if you can do those two things, you'll do fine. But thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
This is the first time we've worked together. I have a feeling it won't be the last. I love what you're doing. It was awesome. Stay right there. Everybody else.
Can I give one more shout out? I'm so sorry. I forgot.
Do it. We got Danny Patrick.
Right. Okay. If anybody wants to write a book like I wrote, you can go to GameChangerPress.com and help my friend Chris Corley out. I met her doing my book, and she's great. So if anybody ever thought about doing it, she's the person to do it.
I did. Send me that name tomorrow because I did.
I will.
So everybody out there, thanks for tuning in. Ed Lake, everybody, wherever you are, go ahead. What do you got?
Good night.
Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.